Welcome to this video, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Peters, and I hope that this finds you and your family doing well. I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching this video, though in all honesty, I wish you were not watching it, in the sense that I wish this video was not necessary to make, but unfortunately I believe it is. I believe my hand has been forced. Now, this video deals with some of the aftermath of the controversy that raged last summer of 2017, regarding the interfaith dialogue that occurred. Now, I'm not going to go into that because that has been discussed this way and that, and I really don't think there's anything else that can contribute to that. But I was forced to address this issue in a conference in which I was speaking in August of 2017, entitled the Judge Not Conference. I addressed this issue, but I did so in as general terms as possible. I did not mention Brannon Howse or Worldview Weekend by name. In fact, as of this recording, June the 6th, 2018, this is the very first time that Brannon Howse's name or Worldview Weekend's name has crossed my lips publicly. Now, my board, comprised of Jim Osman and Mike Miller, both of whom are pastors, Jim, my own pastor, they did issue a statement on my behalf last year, but I have not mentioned Brannon or Worldview Weekend by name until right now, and was not going to do so. However, I am now, because shortly after the conference last year, Brannon took my sermon, took snippets from it, and inserted his own commentary and attacked me in various ways, none of which were valid. And I saw that video, but I did not respond to it because, in all honesty, I just wanted this issue to go away because it was so ugly and so divisive, and was not going to address it. But just a couple weeks ago, I was on YouTube searching for an entirely unrelated video, and I stumbled upon what I thought was the old video that Brannon put up of me, but I looked at the publishing date. This video was published April 22nd of 2018. This year, just several weeks ago. And so when I saw that Brannon had republished that video, that told me that unfortunately he's not willing to let this go. Now, my board has made a statement on my behalf that has been available for anyone to see, and providing a link to that in this video. So if you want to read my board's full statement, I would encourage you to do so. Those issues were ably addressed by them, so I'm not going to go into any of that, but I want to address something, because it's one thing to question my theology. If you have studied an issue and you come to a different conclusion than I on some theological issue, I'm happy to have those conversations, happy to have those discussions, provided that they're in a friendly way. But it's entirely another thing to attack my character and integrity. Brannon did that in this video that he published last year, and when I see that he has republished it this year, I just can't let it stand. I cannot let this go, because in questioning my character and integrity, not only is he besmirching me, but by extension, he is besmirching the name of Christ and the gospel that I teach. And I do not want Christ's name or the gospel to be besmirched in any way. So I want to address one particular issue that Brannon raised, an issue of my own character and integrity. I want to answer this. Now, in this video, you'll see here that Brannon accuses me of being a hypocrite, because in my sermon, I said that if you have an issue with some public Bible teacher that has a solid track record of teaching sound doctrine, sound theology, and they say something with which you would take issue or confuses you or something you disagree with, before you make it a public issue, before you turn it into some public controversy, go to that person privately and ask them about it.
Is it really that serious? Is this issue really that serious? And if it is, here's what I would commend to you. If you think the issue is really that serious, pick up this new invention that's just come out. It's called a telephone. And you call that person and you say, hey, I heard you say such and such, or I saw you do such and such. Can you help me understand that? Send them an email. Write them a letter. Don't automatically start blasting them. Call them all enemies. go to him in private.
So that was my counsel in my sermon from last year. And Brannon in this video says that I am a hypocrite because what I encouraged people to do in my sermon from last year at the Judge Not conference, my own counsel, I do not follow. And Brannon says that I did not follow my own counsel in confronting Dr. David Jeremiah regarding his appearance on TBN a number of years ago in 2011 when David Jeremiah went on TBN and not only was on the TBN, not only has his program there, but he actually went on the set of TBN and praised TBN, praised Paul Crouch, and raised money for TBN. And Brannon says, and in fact, I'll read it to you here. In this video, Brannon says, quote, Justin Peters did not give David Jeremiah, who was not a Calvinist, a pass for his years of Christian service and did not first call Dr. Jeremiah before calling him to publicly repent for praising TBN and taking part in their share-a-thon. Why? So Brannon is accusing me of being a hypocrite. He's questioning my own character and integrity. I just find it gobsmacking that Brannon would say this because Brannon did indeed interview me a number of years ago regarding David Jeremiah's appearance on TBN, praising Paul Crouch, and Paul Crouch, TBN, of course, the tip of the spear in promoting, exporting word faith theology to the rest of the world. Paul Crouch, of course, now is dead, but TBN remains. And so Brannon interviewed me and went on, and we talked about David Jeremiah, and he says in this video that he just published, that I never went to David Jeremiah first before calling him to repent. And so therefore I'm a hypocrite in saying that others should do that today. It's interesting because this is an excerpt of the radio program which Brannon interviewed me for. I've printed off a copy of this. These are Brannon's own words. This is written by Brannon describing the program which he references in which I called David Jeremiah to repent. Brannon interviewed me. This is dated March the 7th, 2012. I will read this to you. Brannon's guest is Justin Peters. Brannon wrote this, but he refers to himself in third person. Brannon's guest is Justin Peters. After 9 months of reaching out to Dr. David Jeremiah through letters and conversations with his secretary, Justin is now going public with his concerns of Dr. Jeremiah appearing on TBN, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, as he did this past week as part of TBN's Praise-a-thon. Here are the audio clips of TBN founder Paul Crouch and David Jeremiah from this past week, and the concerns by Justin that Dr. Jeremiah is giving credibility to TBN, its founder, and the false teachers and prosperity gospel that is so prevalent on TBN, and it continues from there. Not only did I contact David Jeremiah, and I did. I sent Dr. David Jeremiah 2 letters, very cordial. I included a set of my DVDs. This was well before I went on the air with Brannon discussing David Jeremiah. But when I saw David Jeremiah's appearance on TBN, I was grieved by it. I wrote him a letter, included a set of my DVDs, asked him to watch it, and asked for him to get back with me and give me his position on this so I would know how to answer people when they asked me about him. So I wrote that initial letter and sent the DVDs. Months passed. I heard nothing from Dr. Jeremiah, so I wrote a follow-up letter, and again, months passed with no response, so I called his office on 2 different occasions. And I talked to his secretary, told her who I was, asked her if Dr. Jeremiah received my package. She checked, and she said that he did, and I asked if I could speak with him, and she said, well, he's very busy. She said, but someone will get back to you. Well, no one ever did, and with the follow-up call even later at that, no one ever got back with me. So I did contact Dr. David Jeremiah. Not only did I do it, but Brannon knew I did it. These are his own words. Brannon wrote this himself. So how is it that Brannon can write this, and then in this video that he just made last year and republished in April of 2018 this year, how can he accuse me of not contacting Dr. David Jeremiah when his own words indicate that he very clearly knew that I did.
All right, now folks are immediately going to say, did you guys contact David Jeremiah first? That's the first thing we always hear, even though, quite frankly, there is no biblical requirement to do that. This is not a Matthew 18 issue, a private sin issue. This is a public issue going on an international television program, and if we want to talk about it, he's a public figure doing something publicly, we can talk about it. Although it might be nice to contact them, but it's not required, and it doesn't mean that you're being not nice if you don't. But the reality is, you, Justin, have contacted him on this topic, and we let you do it because you're the guy with the master's degree on this topic, and you're probably one of the premier experts on the Word of Faith in the nation. And so you have contacted his office several times over the last, 12 months?
I have, Brannon. The first time was about 9 months ago. I saw David Jeremiah on the Behind the Scenes program with Paul Crouch, and it broke my heart, and it's very disheartening because David Jeremiah has been one of the good guys. You know, and I will say up front, he does not teach Word of Faith doctrine. So we're not accusing him of that. I want all of our listeners to hear that very clearly. We are not accusing him of teaching Word Faith doctrine. However, he is associating himself with some of the world's most prominent Word Faith teachers and promoters, and Paul Crouch being one of them. And so I wrote him a letter, and now this was about 9 months ago, and I think it was a nice letter, and I encouraged him. I said, I appreciate your preaching and teaching ministry. I count you as one of the good guys, and I said, but I've seen you on the television with Paul Crouch. And I said, I'm not sure if you're aware, but he promotes Word of Faith doctrine. And so I went on and fleshed out what that is. Not only that, I also gave him a set of my DVDs of 5 hours of video clips of Paul Crouch and of Benny Hinn and Kenneth Copeland and Creflo Dollar and Jesse Duplantis and Joel Osteen and all these other false teachers. And so I sent him a set of my DVDs. I asked him to review it and see what conclusion he comes to. And I said, your association with these false teachers is troubling because you're giving your implicit endorsement to who they are and what they teach. And I said, I'm frequently asked about you in my seminars because people see you on there with TBN. They say, what about David Jeremiah? Is he one of these too? And I've always tell people, no, he's not. And I told him in my letter, I've been trying to defend you, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to do so. So I asked him to read the letter and watch the DVDs and get back with me, and I heard nothing. Now, this was about 9 months ago, and so I waited a few months, probably 3 or 4 months, and I sent him a follow-up letter asking him, did you receive the DVD? Please let me know where you stand on this. And again, I have heard nothing. I called his church office last year and just to make sure that he received the package. And the lady that I spoke with said, yes, we did receive it and I did pass it on, but I've heard nothing. And so I've sent 2 letters and I've called twice. I called his church yesterday and I heard nothing and was told that in all likelihood he would not call me back. So she indicated I might get some kind of a written response from somebody there at the church, but I don't expect it to be David Jeremiah himself. So to answer your question, yes, I have tried everything I know to try to make contact with him and to see where he stands, but I've heard nothing.
As I said, it's one thing to question my theology on an issue. If you want to have a friendly theological debate, I'm all up for that. But it's another thing to publicly besmirch my character and integrity. Because not only are you impugning my character and integrity, as I said, by extension, you're besmirching the gospel. And the responsibility that God has given me in this ministry, I take very, very seriously. Now, I want to read an excerpt from the statement that my board made to you. And of course, you're welcome to read the full statement. I encourage you to do so. But my board made a statement in August of last year. I want to read one paragraph of that to you here regarding the correspondence that Brannon and I had as this controversy raged last summer, 2017. The statement says this: both Mike Miller and Jim Osmond read the letters that Justin sent to Brannon Howse and offered critiques and input, which was humbly received by Justin before those letters were sent. There is much correspondence, text, and emails which have been exchanged in recent months that is not public. The nature and content of those letters from Justin, have been grossly misrepresented. We have seen all of the correspondence between Brannon and Justin. If Brannon continues to lie against, slander, and defame Justin's character, we can release all of the correspondence to the public so that the record may be set straight and the truth fully known. This correspondence has not been released, but that statement, as it is written, stands today. It can be fully released. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Dear friends, I grieve that this video was necessary, but in case you came across it or heard about it, I do not want you to think that I'm a hypocrite, because that besmirches and tarnishes the name of Christ himself, and that I do not want. So I do thank you for watching this. I was hoping that all of this was behind us, but unfortunately I see that it's not. But at any rate, I do want to set the record straight. There's much more that could be said. I'm not going to. I wanted to keep it straightforward and to the point. So I do hope that this will finally be put to rest. So thank you very much, dear ones. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. And Lord willing, the next video I make for you will be on a much happier, more encouraging note. So thank you for your support. I do ask for your prayer support for both me and my wife Kathy as we seek to serve the Lord together. And may God bless you, and may God be glorified in all of us in our lives as we seek to obey him. Lives of obedience to his word. May we carry the name of Christ well. May God bless you all.
So you have contacted his office several times over the last, 12 months?